Good morning. Welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. It is September 5th, and I am delighted that you have chosen to join me and spend some time. So, I have a question. And my question boils down to this. Does Trump just not know geography? Or is he just dumb? You know, shortly after he got elected, I remember there being a lot of conversations about, the way he talks and he exaggerates everything and he tells stories about everything. What happens when there is a natural disaster and people actually have to believe him? Well, we now know. He just lies some more. So dangerous. Not only what he did was a felony, for the love of God, he was using a map that was 4 or 5 days old because, he made an error. And instead of just saying, I goofed, like, 95% of the world population would have done, he has to turn it into some big theatrical production with maps and Sharpies and circles, and then when he really gets pushed, his answer is, I don't know, I didn't know. Okay. I guess at this point, what I really want to know is what would Spirit like us to know as his behavior becomes more and more dangerous, and he's now in that rhythm where everything is a double down. Everything is doubling down. And that is so dangerous because sometimes he's just wrong. And sometimes the way his thinking is just twisted and inaccurate. And the more he's allowed to sort of double down, the more dangerous the situation becomes. So, question really boils down to, what does the universe want us to know at this time with regards to Trump, his mental state, his behavior, and the behavior of those around him? So come on down, let's see what we find out. Okay, so Trump, how do I want to phrase this? Need to know going forward. Need to know going forward. Need to know going forward. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. That was, as you know, that's my card for Trump. Oops. Okay. So, this is kind of the thing, right? Everybody is so fatigued by this guy and his antics and listening to the people who absolutely believe every single thing he says. I wonder how many of those people who believe everything he says were in Alabama and were busy boarding up their windows. I mean, this is insane. He's pushing out wrong information in every which way he can. I mean, you've got the hurricane information, you've got the stock market information, you've got, pushing forward on that wall. I mean, he's taking, what is it, $3 billion from one department and pushing it towards this wall. The problem boils down to this. There are people who simply believe him no matter what, and then there are the rest of us who have simply gotten exhausted by this. I mean, he just doesn't stop. It is relentless, relentless, relentless. Every day, he does something that falls into the category of unprecedented, no explanation, no reasonable explanation for the behavior. And if any other president behaved this way or said that or did that, he would be like tossed out of office. But somehow he gets away with it. And because he somehow gets away with it, it has just over the course of the last couple of years simply become accepted. Everyone is so tired that it just becomes accepted. It doesn't matter what kind of dirty deals come out. We're not surprised. It doesn't matter if he lies about a natural weather disaster. We're not surprised. It doesn't matter that he tries to manipulate the Federal Reserve and the stock market. We're not surprised. Are we surprised when they put in people, government officials who were working for a certain department and they leave and they're hired by the very people, the very people that, in fact, they should have been protecting the country from. Not only did they not protect them, but in fact, now they've joined troops with them. Nothing surprises anybody anymore. And that's an exhausting place to be. And when it's exhausting, it's also dangerous because you sort of stop paying attention to what's going on around you. Okay. So we're exhausted. The universe would like you to be reassured that justice will soon bring down these sort of dynasty type families and political maneuverings or wranglings. Okay? A lot more people than anybody thinks reasonably could go down, will go down. Now, there are people who we would all love to go down, and some of them may, and some of them may not. But this isn't going to be the fall of one person. It's going to be the fall of the Trump family. It's going to be the fall of those politicians who are so significantly crooked that it simply cannot be explained away or excused or forgotten. So know that that is coming. In order to ensure that that comes and it creates the biggest momentum and the most powerful pushback, everyone has to stay focused. And in order to stay focused on something that is incredibly exhausting, you then have to balance it by taking the time to find that inner peace and that calm and just, find a way to just pull back from the anger, the hurt, the annoyance, the embarrassment. Just, pull back a little bit and take a few deep breaths, recharge, so that you try to prevent yourself from getting into that state of sort of, I'm just so fatigued, I can't even tolerate this anymore. So, what happened in Britain yesterday was very, very telling. I mean, Boris Johnson has had the first three things he has brought up for vote defeated. He is being blocked by his own party. He is not going to get his way, it certainly looks like. He tried to shove through a snap election, which would then, just because of the timing, it would basically have allowed him to go ahead and do what he wanted to do, irregardless of how the election turned out. So that got blocked. His own brother, apparently, I think he's retiring from politics, and he's part of sort of the British Parliament. From what I understand, he's stepping back or retiring because his brother's, kind of such an idiot. So, but listen, that's an amazing thing, right? Because again, globally what it shows is that there was a period of time where everybody was getting riled up, and they would grab onto a couple of kind of marketing lines or taglines. Going to build a wall, right? Britain needs to leave the, oh my goodness, whatever it's called, the European Union. And people like latched onto these things without actually giving it a whole lot of thought about what that actually meant and what the ramifications were. And so they woke up the next morning absolutely heartbroken, absolutely devastated, starting to realize what happens when you make decisions with sort of really wound up emotions. Because when that happens, you're often not thinking as clearly as you could be. So it's not a dissimilar situation. I mean, as of right now, what is dissimilar is the people in British Parliament have actually started to push back, including, of course, his own party, who are pushing back rather forcefully against him. And that, unfortunately, has not yet really happened significantly in the United States. However, the pattern is this. There was that period of kind of, I don't know, like real instability. 2015, 2016, kind of in there. It seemed like there was a lot of resentment building up, a lot of anger building up. And then 2017 and 2018 and 2019 almost like appeared to be trying to process or deal with the ramifications of what happened. Okay, but now we're here at the end of 2019, moving into 2020, and everywhere you turn, people are really, really pushing back against governments and government policies that are not in keeping with the highest good of the nation. And it's fascinating because that was the phrase they gave me, the highest good of the nation. Because really, if the people and the politicians of any country are not focused on what is the highest good for the country that they live in and call home, then who is it the highest good for? Not the country, and therefore not the average person who lives in that country. So there has been a real significant pushback. And even though, you're a year and a bit away from elections in the United States, you absolutely can see that sort of enough is enough. We're not going to put up with this. Women are like rushing to the fore. They're tired of their babies having to go through gun drills at school. They're tired of being scared to go to the local Walmart because they could get shot. My goodness, it's getting so they're tired of driving down the highway. Okay, so you have this, and it's not only women, it's enlightened men and women are surging forward and saying, no more, no more. And what they're doing is they're putting the highest good of the country, that which is fair and just, into the priority place. Okay. So, there's this huge pushback going, and you're going to see the benefit and the results of that going forward. And honestly, within the decade, I'm going to say places like Russia are going to start undergoing some significant changes. There are countries that are really being stripped of all of their assets by people who are corrupt in positions of power, and the whole world is not going to magically get corrected. But there is going to be a trend that starts moving towards a more balanced and just way of handling these sort of toxic and imbalanced situations. So take comfort from the fact that Brexit is sort of doing the crazy it is doing right now, because it is indicative of the fact that people are now pushing back and saying, this is not good and we cannot support it. Okay, so I'm kind of going to give you an interesting analogy. And this has to do with the upcoming election. And as I've stated before, I am Canadian, so I don't have a horse or a pony in this race. I know what I have seen and been told intuitively, but that's sort of where it's at. So follow along with my little analogy here. Your dishwasher breaks. Your dishwasher needs to be replaced. So you start looking for, a $600 dishwasher because yours is broken and needs to be replaced. And then somewhere along the way, you think, well, if we're going to replace the dishwasher, that would be a really good time to upgrade the flooring in the kitchen. Well, and if we're going to upgrade the flooring in the kitchen, probably a really good time to deal with the counters or the countertops. And, oh, wait a minute, you know what? Possible that since we're going to do that and we're upgrading the dishwasher, maybe we should upgrade the other appliances at the same time. And so going out to buy a $600 dishwasher to fix your immediate problem turns into a $15,000 or $20,000 kitchen renovation, because there's this attitude of, well, while we're fixing one thing, we're going to fix it all. The universe would like, and again, the universe doesn't have a horse in this race either, people, but the universe would like you to think about the fact that when Trump leaves office, there is going to be a period of time where really the entire priority is going to be trying to stabilize the country again, trying to get its allies back in positions, get his enemies pushed back, try to stabilize and, adapt and adjust and fix all the things that have been allowed to go wrong in the last 2 years. And so what I'm hearing is literally choose wisely as you're looking at your elected representatives, because this is what you have to sort of keep in mind. What has gone on with Trump? What has gone on just, in the last couple of years in the United States has been a wake-up call to all politicians, not just the Republicans. It has been a wake-up call to Democrats who are taking, corporate donations. It's been a wake-up call to everybody about what their constituents are and are not willing to take and accept. It has been a time where in all of the politicians at a whole bunch of different levels have basically become aware of the fact that, if we do something and it's blatantly wrong, we are going to get our butts called on the carpet. And so as long as the people continue to apply pressure and say, this is wrong, we're not accepting it, this is no longer what we want our country to look like or behave like. But what you need to realize is in those initial 4 years, I want to say, is what you're looking for is not somebody to renovate the kitchen. You're looking for somebody to replace the dishwasher so the kitchen can go back to functioning the way it needs to function. And once that's done, and once you've recovered, it is then time to say, okay, now it's time to fix this and this and this and this. Because you remember, if Trump doesn't leave office until he is elected out, and we all hope and pray that's not the case, but if it is the case, he has had 4 years to create unmitigated disasters in every single direction. That doesn't get corrected 24 hours after a new president takes office. Okay? There's going to need to be this period of stability versus progressive movement. And I know a lot of people have been begging and crying and waiting for some of that progressive movement to go forward, and it will, but it needs to go forward on a more stable basis. It's like just too much stuff has been broken and damaged, and not all of it, frankly, broken and damaged by Trump. However, first you have to get back on safe ground, and then you can start, working at fixing what needs to be fixed. And the message that you're being given is that trust the universe on this. Those people who needed to hear your outrage, your annoyance, your distrust, your exhaustion, all of them, every one of them has heard it. Yep, there's a few here and there who are going to keep on trying to push against what is blatantly obvious to everybody else because they're not anxious to let go of their corrupt ways. But by and large, the vast majority of you are pushing forward with a new way of being. But in order to start the new way first, you need to create some stability of where you're at right now. So, just give that some consideration. That I know people want change, and I get it, and I hear it, and the universe gets it. But that's going to be put in place from a place of solid. Because if it's not, you're going to end up in a tower moment down the road where there was too much stuff that tried to get done on unstable ground. So just keep that in mind and give that, a little bit of thought going forward. So yeah, come on down. So we have, again, this represents the promise of things getting better, the promise of things not only being stabilized, but then being allowed to move forward in a way that benefits most people, that lifts the burden from most people, that helps the people who are most in need and rebalances some of the really, really crazy injustices. And that means for some of you that the person that you really, really want to be president may not get in as president simply because on some level they're perceived as not being able to hit the ground running. But But I don't believe that with 4 years from now, okay, so 4 years after that election, that's when you're going to see enough stability happen so that there is going to be enough momentum to start creating permanent changes. And if there's one thing all the politicians have recently learned, it's about things being put into law as opposed to just being traditions or the way it has always been done. Because every once in a while, it may be every couple hundred years, but every once in a while, you've got that one person who doesn't give a damn about laws or traditions, and things that are not really clearly spelled out and kind of set in concrete tend to get dynamited. First of all, North Carolina, right around now, as I understand it, you're preparing to get hammered. I think South Carolina, you're preparing and South Carolina is getting hit. All of you stay safe. For those of us who are in safe places, continue to send love and support to everyone affected by Hurricane Dorian or likely to be affected in any way, shape, or form. Let's keep everyone safe. Thank you again so much for your likes and your views and your subscriptions. I'm ever so grateful, and it's very, very much appreciated. Again, if you're looking for a private reading, look in that little box below me, and you can get some information on that there. So, until next time, take care. Be well. See you soon. Bye.